Presenter before we move on to the Lifetime Achievement Award with Calvin Duzhnitsky will be Canark Resource. We have Katalin Kilofliski, the CEO of Canark here. Canark is focused on advanced gold and silver assets in North America. The company is well funded and it's managed by an experienced team with proven ability to raise capital and advance projects from exploration to production. Canark has projects with significant existing gold resources in Nevada, British Columbia, and prime drill-ready exploration targets. So, Katalin, please.
Thank you, everyone. We'll try to make it really quick. I know we're running quite a bit late, so we'll be making some forward-looking statements during my presentations here. So, Canark is really an advanced exploration company. It's a well-funded company. We're sitting on about $4 to $5 million cash currently. We have spent significant amounts of money on our projects historically. Our company's been around for about 25 years, and projects have seen in excess of about $40 million invested in them, both the ones that we've had historically and the ones we've recently acquired. Company is led by a very experienced management team with a good track record. I'll be going through that in a second. And we operate in mining-friendly jurisdictions, both in Nevada, US, which is a prime mining area, and also British Columbia, Canada. We are listed on Toronto Stock Exchange main board. Market cap of the company is quite small, about $15 million. About 1/3 of that is sitting in cash, and we still have about over 2 million ounces of resources. Company has been in a fortunate position. We did not need to raise money in the last 2 years. We've been able to generate over $10 million in cash with zero dilution. I'll be talking a little bit about that in the next slides here. Outside myself, the CEO of the company, Brad Cook, is the chairman. Brad is a well-known name in the sector here. He is the founder of the company and the chairman. And he's also the CEO and founder of Endeavor Silver, which is about a $500 million Mexico-focused silver producer listed on New York Stock Exchange and TSX. What Canark owns is really a dual-focus company. We own about over 10 projects in Nevada, one of which has over 1 million ounce resource. And we also own a very advanced project in Canada called New Polaris Gold, with again a resource of over 1 million ounces of high-grade gold. And we also have a very early stage project, but it's sitting in a very prolific mining district. It's a brand new discovery that Canark has made 2 years ago. The goal of the company is really to continue growing, both through exploring what we got and advancing what we got towards production, and also acquisitions. If you look over our track record during the last 2 years, Canark has been able to really make significant progress while the markets were very bad. We started in 2015 with an acquisition of a Mexican project in exchange of about $1 million in shares. We've invested essentially all the money we had at the time, which was $1 million in cash. We got the project fully funded for production, but somebody made us an offer and we sold it for about $10 million cash. That was in the span range of about 6 months, so we effectively turned $1 million in equity and $1 million in cash into $10 million cash with zero dilution for shareholders. So as a result of that, the company continued its pursuit of growth. So we've been able to acquire exactly about a year ago 10 projects in Nevada, one which has a 1 million ounce resource in exchange of $2 million US. And we've been spending a bit of money on that project. So with that in mind, we are still focused on continuing the acquisition pattern here. We actually have welcomed the recent downturn, which we've been watching in the last 3 years in the gold sector, because it allowed us to buy things cheap. And we are hoping that we can hopefully still make 1 or 2 more acquisitions before things do turn here in the gold space. What do we own in Nevada? We have 2 larger projects. One, it's called Fandaway Canyon, very large land package. Has a 1 million ounce 43-101 resource at about 6 grams per ton. Second largest is a historic resource of about 100,000 ounces of gold oxides of 3 grams at surface, which is very promising. And then outside of that, we have 9 other earlier stage projects, but some projects have seen previous drilling and previous exploration, and they have significant potential. A little bit more about Fandaway Canyon. It's located about 100 miles from Reno, Nevada. So it's in that part of the world. It's a historic project. It's seen some exploration in 1980s and in 1990s. Very limited mining has been done on the project, but it has a lot of gold on surface and potential for underground. This is a quick map of the district in Nevada. So Fandaway Canyon is on lower end here, the yellow project, and it's sitting about 100 miles away from well-known and producing mines in Nevada. So it's very well located from that perspective. Project is accessible via paved roads, and we have water on site, and it's fairly easy to work on. A quick look at the resource here, which was published. It's available on the website. Million ounce, roughly at about 6 grams per ton. This picture is an aerial view of the project, and in red is really the gold mineralization that's currently defined on the project based on the historical drill holes. And really, if you look at what we have been doing in the last year, we've really, once we've acquired the project, we've hired a very experienced geologist in Nevada who's a PhD geologist. He's based in Reno. And he went through all the historical data. As a result of his review, he recommended $1 million drilling campaign, which we just completed last year. We've done 7 holes on the project. All the 7 holes hit very good mineralizations. So his ideas were excellent. He's a really good geologist. A few highlights of the hole we've done. Best one was 65 meters of about 2.8 grams per ton. So very wide, good grade mineralization. There's another one, 63 meters, again at about under 2 grams per ton with some really high grade intercepts in between. So you're seeing that basically all the holes we've done hit. And once we put these things in perspective, we looked at the deposit, and then we'll go back one slide here. So much gold disseminated at surface, and everything is very shallow. It's basically, most of the mineralization is within 200 meters from surface. So we basically asked ourselves, is this maybe an open pit scenario here, where you can actually mine all this gold at surface at maybe 3 grams or better, which is not a bad grade for open pit. So currently we are working on a internal resource report and a possible mine plan that would answer the question. If we get positive results from that, we will pursue with possibly an updated 43-101 resource report and the PEA on the project with the goal to advance it towards production. Second project is in Canada, northern Canada. It's called New Polaris Gold. It's a very high-grade underground project. Lots of money invested historically. Over $30 million Canada has invested in it, and it's a very large database of about 30,000 samples of 1,000 drill holes. And as a result of that, project has been through various stages of PEA, even a feasibility studies was done on the project in 1990. And currently, it's in the process of trying to find a partner to advance it to its next stage, which is possibly getting into the production path. It's located in British Columbia at the border with Alaska. It's about 60 kilometers inland from Juneau, Alaska. Project is accessible via an airstrip which is on site, and also through seasonal barging access from Juneau. The PEA, which was completed in 2011, if you look at it, it's fairly robust. This has been updated with $1,300 gold and $1 Canadian dollar to 0.78 US. And using an NPV of 8%, if you want to be very aggressive, the project still has a discount of 8%. The project still has an NPV of over $300 million. And it's estimated to produce about 70,000 ounces of gold, and capex it's around $100 million US. So it's a fairly robust project. And we are now in the process of trying to see if we could actually move it forward. Quick look at the resource. The resource is really high grade. It's over 12 grams per ton. We're sitting about 50% indicated, about 500,000 ounces, and 50% inferred, a little bit over 500,000 ounces. So development plan for New Polaris is really to get the project forward to a production scenario, which means completion of a feasibility study. Would require basically a program of about $10 million. It's going to take about 2 years, mainly focus on infilling the inferred resources into indicated, completing the engineering and starting the permitting process. And the last project, which is very early stage, is Windfall Hills. It's got a very good address. It's very close to Blackwater Davidson, which is a 10 million ounce deposit. It's a much different project. It's a very lower grade, disseminated open pit potential. Canark has basically discovered this project 2 years ago through a series of just 3 holes, which all hit fairly good grade of gold at surface. The best hole was about 28 meters of 1.2 grams gold equivalent at surface. So we are planning to do additional work on this project, but that has not been our main focus. Our main focus is really projects in Nevada and the one in British Columbia. If you look at Canark's valuation compared to the peer groups, we are basically valued at about under $5 per ounce, which is probably the lowest valuation in our sector. So the catalyst to move this valuation higher is really both what we are doing on projects that we own in Nevada, in British Columbia, and I think more importantly, our track record and continuous strategy to acquire more advanced projects and eventually even turn around the company from a pure exploration company to a producer. And the reason why we are so eager to get into production is very simple. If you look at our management team and the board, everybody has been or is involved with mines that are producing or have been producing. Starting with Brad Cook, who's the CEO of Endeavour Silver. People in our board are also involved in production. Our president has 40-year plus mine operating experience. He was GM of SK Creek Mine for about 8 years with Skeena, now has an option on. He's been involved in running some really good and high-grade gold mines throughout North America. So we do have an edge. Most exploration companies just focus on exploration. We are a unique company where we can actually bring a production from advanced exploration to production and successful operations. So don't be surprised if you see us getting into production, which in turn, of course, will bring a much higher valuation for the share price for our investors. In summary, Canark is a well-funded company. We have not raised money in the last 2 years during the downturn, and we don't expect that we would need to do so until we have probably something serious that would require more money, which would mean an acquisition that could create value to shareholders. So it's a good position to be in. Company has both management and board with extensive experience in mining and solid track record. We have an excellent value proposition for investors here, being ranked, the lowest investment per ounce, basically, of gold. If you look at our share price, and we have a good track record. If you look at what we've done over 2 years, I think that's a testament that we are just getting started here at Canark. And if you want to have more in-depth discussions with me, I'll be available between 3 and 5 in the Quebec room here at the conference. Thank you.